Welcome back to part 5 of how to make a HexTile board game in Unreal Engine 4. All of this does work for Unreal Engine 5 as well. In our last video, we got to a point where units were spawning in, the initial units, and now in this tutorial, we're going to start the setup for actually starting to interact with units, select them, and then move them. And we're going to create two assets in this video, or somewhat assets. One is when you hover over a unit, they highlight like this so the player knows what they're highlighting over. And then two, when you select a unit, this indicator shows up for what tiles you can move to. So to start first, there's one thing we have to do in our unit master. So blueprints, or not blueprints, assets, where do we put this? Units, and then our master class, open that up. And we made a function called set owning player index server, and that runs from our HexTile. So when we spawn in each of these individual units, footman, spearman, swordsman, we spawn them and we set their index. But what I want to add on to this is the actual player controller. So within this event, in our pawn master, make a input called PC turn-based. That'll be the object reference, and owning PC. And this will allow the unit to interact with the player controller, but we also have to set the owner so the client can run server events from it. It'll make sense as we go. So add that in, and we'll promote this to a variable. Drag this over, and we will make this replicated. Connect this back. And so what we'll do when the unit spawns, we have to get the player controller. And I think we made a function. Okay, so we're going to make a macro within our game mode to do that. So creating a macro will be get PC by index. And we have a variable already. That's our array of all of the player controllers. Let's hit get, and what we want to get will be an input, which will be an integer, and it will be the player index. So this player index will get the corresponding player controller object reference, and that will be our output, which will be PC turn-based. And let's call this PC, and this will come through here. Okay, so let me just see what this looks like. This will be in and then out. Perfect. Oh, maybe we have to do this via, shoot, we actually got to do this via function. So let's just add a function, get PC by index. Let's call this, and for macro, get PC by index. Okay, and then this will have an output, which is the PC and an input integer player index. And we just hook our macro up in here. So player index in, player controller out. So when we come back into our HexTile, we want to get that player controller and then pass that through to the actual pawn. So I think the best way to do this would be go back to our event graph, and off of the begin play, which is up here, put this here, gonna drag this around. We will get game mode and cast to GN turn-based, and connect that to our begin play. Create a variable, just call that GN turn-based, make that replicated. And now we should have functions spawn, footman, spearman, swordsman. I have those up here. But we'll come into here and we'll get our game mode. Kind of drag that down here. And actually, we're going to run this twice. And it's going to be redundant, but I just want to make sure this goes through without any hiccups. So we're going to reference and run this function get PC by index. So get PC by index. And I wonder if we might be able to make this appear. Yeah. Okay. Come back to your game mode and make this a peer function. So what that does is you don't actually have to run and execute through it. And let's grab our owning player index from our HexTile. And we'll pass that through here. And now we should have this player controller passing through. I'm going to do two things with that. One, I'm going to set that as the owner. And then two, I'm also going to pass that through our set owning player index server. And we can jump into that event. This also passed through. This will set on the server and it's replicated. I'm just going to do one more thing just to make sure that this all works. I'll run a custom event set owner MC, and we'll make this a multicast and reliable with an input of the PC owner. And from the server side of this event, we're going to type in set owner. And yes, this is redundant, but it breaks everything if the client isn't the owner, because then they can't run server events from it. So this will allow us to do that. So we'll set it, drag this over a little bit more, and then we're going to run set owner MC and pass this player controller through. And copy this up to here. And done. So this will make this pawn the owner on the server. This is a replicated actor, so it should work, but we're just doing the multicast, so all the client instances of this actor all have the same owner as the server, which would be the player that owns the tile. So that should work. The other thing I wanted to clean up from the last video is the setting the color of the unit, which I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, okay. So we were doing that from this get owning player server index. You probably have a delay of 2 seconds for set unit team color multitask. I don't like doing that, and I think I found a better way to do it, because the problem is we're using 2 seconds, but if there's one client that loads in way slower, then they could miss that delay, and then the appropriate color isn't set for the unit, which obviously is what we want. So what we're going to do instead, come back into your game mode and go to your event graph. And close out of all this stuff. So we have this event, the onPost logon. So anytime a client joins a server, it runs this event. What we want to do is you should have this delay and then start game. We're going to make a new function called all units update color on logon. So I made that over here. So just press new function and then call it this. Within this function, you're going to type get all actors of class, and your class will be your pawn master. So EP pawn master. And so what this will do is you get all the actors in the level, but only if they are the BP pawn unit master or its children. And then run a for each loop, and then from there run the set unit team multicast, which is this event, which then sets the color for all the clients. What this will then do is every time a new player joins the game, the colors will reset to make sure that every instance sees the same color for the pawns. So I think that's good correction there, and that should work nicely. And we can test it out quick. So we have 4 instances up: blue, red, yellow, green, yeah, yellow. And let's grab one of the clients: red, yellow, green, blue. Perfect. Okay, so next thing we want to do is we're going to create the material, so when we hover over the pawn, it highlights, just so you as the player know what you're highlighting. So to do that, you should have this decal already on here, but if you don't, just add a component, search decal, and drop it there, and then we'll come back to actually changing the box once we make the material, but you should have something like this. So come back into your kind of master. Let's go to materials, and you can just put our unit materials. Put a new material, the unit highlight. Come into here, and it's gonna be really simple. Hold 3, left click, get a color. And we'll make this bright yellow. Pass that through to your missive color, and then click on the material. We're also going to make this not masked, translucent, and then press 1 for a constant. Pass that to opacity, and we'll just do like a default 0.5. Then apply, save, and now when you come back into your pawn unit master, this decal, search unit highlight, and compile. And I think this is set to visible. Oh yeah, and then turn on visible. So this is what it will look like when you're actually highlighting a unit. And you can play around with the opacity and the colors. Let me just get this off screen so I can play around with this a little bit better. Yeah, so if we bump the opacity up to like 0.75 and apply that. Now, I don't know why it looks so weird. I forgot to set one more thing in the material. Click back on your material and switch this material domain to deferred decal. And I set this back to 0.5 opacity. Apply, save, and now I think that looks a little better. You can play around with those settings as you'd like, but we're going to go back to turning the visibility off. And when the cursor goes over the pawn, we'll trigger that on and off. And I think we can actually work on that now. Let me pull my reference project. Okay, so come into your event graph and kind of come down where you have some space. So on your unit pawn, right click, add an event, and on begin cursor over. So what we want to do here is, this is what's, when you hover over it, we're going to flip on the decal. When you hover off, flip off. So grab another event, add it, and end cursor over. So these will basically do the opposite effect. The first thing we're going to do is when we hover over it, get player controller. So this is just going to be which player controller is hovering over it. And we're going to cast to PC turn based. And so if, pull off this, types an equal, if this player controller equals the owning player controller, do a branch. If that is true, we will grab our decal, set visibility to true. And if it's false, maybe we'll come back to this later, but we might do like a red highlight. Screw it, let's just do that now actually. Come back into this material and let's just call this friendly. So if you're hovering over a friendly unit, that's the color. Then we can duplicate it, enemy, and we'll just make this one like a red, pink, a little bit more pinkish. Yeah. Okay. Come back in. So grab this decal then again. So if we are hovering over, if the player controller that owns this unit is hovering over it, we will set the material of the decal. And that material will be unit highlight friendly. If it's not the player controller that's hovering over it, it'll be unit highlight enemy. And then both of these will just flip on the visibility. And I get this decal down here. And then when we hover off, grab our decal, set visibility. And instead of new visibility, yes, check that to no. Boom. And now let's test this out. And I'm just going to do 2. This is one issue. Okay, uncovered a couple issues. The first one I forgot to do is within our player controller, um, we have to enable this mouse over events. So come into your begin play, and at the end of this, thread search set enable mouse over events. Check this on, and we'll do that for the remote too. So pull this through like this. So now this will allow us to actually hover over the unit. So now when you come in, but why didn't it? Oh, I didn't make sure you enable this. Obviously, that helps. And now we can actually hover over the units, but we still have some problems. They're not highlighting the correct color. And when I brought my, I brought this to 2, and it looks like it worked this time, but when I was in here last time, the client wasn't seeing the correct colors. And it looks like it's working now, but the reason that was happening is within our game mode, we're not running this event until we start the game. So really, we just need to move this event and put it before, because we'll only start the game when we have 4 players in the game. So then this event wasn't firing. So now this will fire every time somebody logs in. Okay, and the reason we are having issues with the selection not being the right color, I think that's for both. It's only working on the footman. It's because when we come back into our HexTile, we set up this code for spawning in our footman, but we didn't do it for the spearman and the swordsman. So I'm just going to copy that and pass this through as the owner here and the owner here. Grab again. This down. Owner. Owner. Okay, and now this should work. Yellow, yellow, yellow. And you come over to the enemy one's red. It's good. Yellow, yellow, yellow. Red, red, red. Perfect. Okay, so we got that piece taken care of. Just doing some testing with print strings, so I'll clean that up. And this was working, so perfect. The next thing we want to do is when we actually click on the unit, what we want him to do. And let me demonstrate this quick. I just kind of want some sort of visual cue to the player that you have successfully clicked the pawn. So just gonna have him kind of raise up and tilt like this, and when you unselect, go right back down. So the way we're going to do that is when we grab our unit pawn and add an event, and it'll be on clicked. And we'll pull this up. And so again, we're going to want to do this same logic. So as a player, controller clicking on me, my owner, essentially, and then only if true. And then we're going to do a couple different events off here. Custom event, and this will be select unit server. And this will be a server event reliable. And spell that right, select. There we go. And another custom event, unselect unit server. And run on server reliable. And we're going to create a new variable. This will be called selected, question mark. And we'll make that replicated. We'll get that, run a branch here. So if the player selected me is the owner, and if I'm already selected, then we'll run the unselect. And if we're not already selected, then run the select unit server. before I go any further, I just want to make sure this works. So we'll do a print string hello and launch back. Nothing is happening. Debug this. I think this would be the player one footman. Okay, let's see what's going wrong. Okay, fixed it. Sorry, should have done a better job prepping for this, but pretty easy to fix. So come back to your player controller, class defaults, and this enable click events. Check this on. And one more thing we should do quick is in your VP HexTile. What's happening right now is the game starts, the tiles populate, and then as each tile spawns, these events run, which sets its mesh and then spawns the units. But what is happening is we don't currently have this delay. So the units are spawning before the client player controller initializes. So we're just going to do this delay for 2 seconds. Again, I'm going to rework this somehow through the event logon. But for now, this will fix it. So after 2 seconds, we'll then spawn the units, which will make sure all the clients will be in the game by then, and the owner will be set appropriately. So with all of that done, I'll come back into our pawn, and I just have this print string on the select unit server, just says clicked. It should be working for both sets now. So top left, clicked, and the client, click. Boom, good. Okay, and now from there, we'll actually work on lifting up the pawn. So let's give ourselves some space. And let me pull up my reference. Okay, so when we select the unit, we want to set the selected to on. And from there, we'll run another event. This will be unit selected MC. And this will be a multicast and reliable. And so after we do this, unit selected MC. And I want to run some player events too. So let's go into our player controller. And we're going to add another custom event. And let's put this, what do we got going on over here? Spacebar. Okay, these are inputs. Okay, so below these inputs, custom event, add selected unit. And this will be run on the server and reliable. And we're going to pass through the VP pawn master class. Let's call this unit selected. And we are going to make a new variable, and it'll be of type VP pawn class master, and this will be an array. And selected unit array. And we'll get this and then add. So we'll add this unit in. So I'll come back into our pawn master, get the owning player controller, add selected unit. And the selected unit will just be self. So self, get reference to self, and pass that through. Okay. And then for the multicast event, Let's give ourselves a little bit more space. So we'll again get a reference to self, so we can just copy and paste this down. And we'll get actor location. And we'll split this. And we'll come off this, actually off our self, set actor location. And split this. And so the X will be the same, the Y will be the same, but we'll just create a little bump. So we'll grab our Z-axis and do, I don't know, something like 150. Pass that through so it'll lift the piece. And then we'll do the self again, get actor rotation, and split this, get actor, or set actor rotation, and split this. And, oh, actually, we don't even need the get, because we'll just set it here. So we'll set it to 10, 10, 10. And then when we unselect the actor, we'll set this to off. And let's go back to our player controller. Custom event, remove unselected unit. This will again be a server reliable and with an input unselected unit, or maybe just to keep the formatting the same, unit unselected. And from this array, remove item, and we'll remove this. So let's grab our player controller and self, just like we did before. Remove unselected unit. Like this, this. And then we need another custom event. Unselect unit MC. Turn this onto a multicast reliable. And then all this is going to do, we'll grab all of this again. Instead of plus 150, we will do minus 150, set that as our new Z, and then just set these back to 0. Okay, compile, save. I think this should work. Okay, let's try it out. All right, so run this first in the server. Click, pops up. Ooh, the unclick though is not. It just keeps going higher. Guessing something similar will be happening on the client as well. The other problem is, oh, it's over here. Okay, the client can at least see the server moving the pawn higher, so that's good. See if the client can actually bump it up. Good. Both can see, so that is good, but what's not good is it's not being set back to the right location. So on clicked, on client, yes. If the actor is selected, unselect it. We're not calling this event. Unselect unit MC. Too easy. And let's try this again. Boom, 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 boom. And our client. Let's make sure the server can watch. Good. Okay. I think we're probably going to call it there for now. What we'll work on next is when you I got these backwards. Conservator. When you select the units, we'll highlight the adjacent tiles you can move to, and then we're also going to add something to our HUD, which shows a list of which units you have selected. So we'll do that in the next video. Yeah, Hope this is easy enough to follow. If you have any issues, just put some comments down below and I'll help you out. And like and subscribe, and I'll keep the tutorial going. Thanks. Bye.